Good Thursday afternoon. This is the midday newscast on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. I'm Samson Nanton. The opposition intends to file a motion of no confidence or censure against Attorney General Anand Ramlogan in the Parliament. Opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley made the announcement as he addressed the PNM meeting in Five Rivers last night. He also accepted the invitation to hold talks with the Joint Trade Union Movement and the Movement for Social Justice tomorrow. Chester Zambrano reports.
No room for mediation, but time for action. This, according to opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley, regarding the Section 34 controversy. Dr. Rowley had given an ultimatum to Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar to remove Attorney General Anand Ramlogan by Wednesday or face further action. But this has not been done. At a meeting of the People's National Movement in Aruka last night, Dr. Rowley disclosed his next plan of action to the nation.
I intend in the coming hours to file a motion of censure in the Parliament against the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago.
Dr. Rowley claimed that A.G. Ramlogan did have a part to play in the Section 34 fiasco. He maintained that A.G. Ramlogan has many questions to answer and will be made to do so on the last Friday in October.
I will read into the records in the Parliament every detail of the timelines of what they have done for posterity. And when I'm through with that, I will ask them all to stand up in front of you on television live and vote for or against an Attorney General so accused.
He said the motion will then be raised in the Senate and, if necessary, the Tobago House of Assembly. The opposition leader also revealed that a special General Council meeting of the PNM has been called for Sunday morning at 10 o'clock to discuss a further plan of action. And he also responded to a request for a meeting from the Joint Trade Union Movement.
I have summoned a special General Council meeting of the PNM for Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, where I will put to the PNM General Council my proposal for treating with this development. But before that, before I go to the General Council, I will lead a team to meet with these citizens who lead important organizations in this country. I will be there on Friday at 4 o'clock.
MSJ leader David Abdullah, as well as other civil society organizations, will also be a part of the talks. I am Chester Zambrano, reporting for CNC3 News.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Diego Martin Northeast, Carl Mimbert, says fired Justice Minister Herbert Volney did not have the responsibility for criminal legislation and therefore should not have been piloting the Administration of Justice Act. Speaking at a PNM meeting in Five Rivers last night, Mr. Imbert said a copy of the Gazette dated July 13, 2011, shows that the responsibility of criminal legislation was taken away from the Justice Minister by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar in an earlier cabinet reshuffle.
When you go to the responsibilities of the Minister of Justice, as of the 13th of July 2011, Kamla took away criminal legislation from him. All you believe that? So from July 2011, Volney had no ministerial responsibility for criminal legislation. She take it out. She take it away.
Earlier this week, Attorney General Anand Ramlogan told reporters that he was mainly responsible for legislation of a civil nature, but Mr. Imbert explained that contrary to what the AG says, he is the one responsible for criminal legislation.
No legal matters were assigned to anybody else. The Attorney General is responsible for all. So in 2010, when the Prime Minister gave the responsibility for criminal legislation to Volney, it meant the AG was not responsible for that. But when she take it away from Volney, it come back to the AG. You think it's easy with these people? They could run, but they can't hide.
Mr. Imbert accused both Minister or Attorney General Anand Ramlogan and the Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar of being less than honest with the population. To some other news now, Education Minister Dr. Tim Gopi Singh is today denying reports that his son, who was involved in a cutlass attack, has fled the country. The minister, who continues to maintain a guarded response to the media concerning the situation, confirmed that his son Shane Gopi Singh is here in the country and cooperating with the authorities as as they investigate the incident. Just yesterday, the minister confirmed speculation that the person seen attacking an elderly man in Woodbrook was in fact his son. Today, reports surfaced that Shane Gopi Singh left the country in light of the ongoing investigation into the matter. However, Minister Gopi Singh says it's not true.
Oh, no, Shane is at home. I think he's possibly at work today. As much as possible, I want to respect the independence of the judicial system, and therefore it's not appropriate for me, even as a parent, to make any comment on the matter.
Chief Operating Officer of the Answer McCall Group of Companies, Jerry Brooks, says it is time to end the CLECO HCU Commission of Inquiry and deal with those responsible. Speaking on the CNC3 early morning show today, Mr. Brooks said taking action against persons responsible for the CLECO collapse would help improve confidence in the system of governance.
Not a prosecution. Nobody has been called to account. Conflict of duty and interest for directors, breach of directors' duties, a huge cost to the public, and not a single prosecution in this matter. We need to bring the talk show, that is the Commission of Inquiry, to an end. We need to pass that file to the DPP, and we need to prefer charges as appropriate, both from a criminal standpoint and take the appropriate civil action under the company's legislation and under the appropriate financial services legislation. So that's something that needs to be dealt with, and that certainly will demonstrate to people that there is accountability, especially where public funds are involved.
Mr. Brooks says there needs to be more accountability in this country. And commenting on the upcoming 2012-2013 budget, Mr. Brooks says he believes that no new taxes should be introduced.
I think in the short term, we have to, one, address the diversification question, but more importantly, coming back to revenue, there's not much more upside in revenue unless we increase taxes. And I do not recommend that we increase taxes at this stage. What I recommend that we do is that we increase entrepreneurial and activity locally.
He said Finance Minister Larry Hawaii should place special emphasis on growing the economy. And staying with the budget, crime, law and order remain a national priority and will be reflected in the 2012-2013 budget. This was the assurance given by Planning Minister Dr. Botiwari to the American Chamber of Industry and Commerce. AmCham's President Hugh Howard said that white-collar and violent crime remain a deterrent to development. Rhea Rambley has more.
President of the American Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Hugh Howard, says crime continues to be a grave concern to the business community in this country. Addressing AmCham's 16th annual HSSE conference and exhibition on Wednesday, Howard said detection and conviction rates leave a lot to be desired. He says while this seems to encourage perpetrators, there's a negative effect on the business community.
The urgent need for an effective crime plan and execution thereof cannot be overemphasized. We must recapture our beloved country from the criminal element, white collar and violent.
Howard admits, though, that the government cannot do it alone. He says active participation and leadership from the private sector is necessary.
Everyone, including the private sector, civil society, religious bodies and community groups, has a role to play.
But in addressing the opening ceremony, Planning Minister Dr. Botiwari revealed that fighting crime is at the forefront in the upcoming budget.
Crime, law and order, number 1. Agriculture and food security, number 2. 3. Healthcare services and hospitals. 4. Economic growth, job creation, diversification and innovation. And 5. Poverty reduction and human capital development.
He says the government is on the right track thus far and gave AmCham the assurance that their concerns have not fallen on deaf ears. I am Rhea Rambley reporting for CNC3 News.
In news of sport now, the West Indies won the toss and elected to have first strike in their Super 8 ICC T20 World Cup encounter against England in Pally in England. The openers Chris Gayle and Johnson Charles gave the West Indies a rousing start, with Gayle leading the charge. Gayle, he raced on to 50 off just 29 deliveries, and it included 6 fours and 3 sixes. The pair posted a century opening partnership before Gayle was caught by Stephen Fenn on the boundary off Graham Swan for 58. Jason Charles also reached his half-century as the West Indies lost their second wicket in Marlon Samuels for just 2, with the score on 118 for 2. I can tell you tell you that the latest score, the West Indies having batted through their entire 20 overs, 179 for 5. And don't let your blood pressure raise just yet. The bowlers are going to do it. Well, taking a look at the weather forecast for the period this afternoon and tonight, Trinidad and Tobago will see some sunny intervals interrupted by light to moderate showers along hilly areas. Tonight would be humid and settled. Seas are slight with waves reaching 1.5 meters in open waters and near calm in sheltered areas. The forecast maximum temperature at Piarco is 35 degrees Celsius, rather hot, and 32 degrees across in Crown Point, Tobago. A little cooler over there. So stay with CNC3. We'll have updates on the weather and a lot more going on from 1 to 6. And of course, our major newscast at 7 this evening, right here on CNC3.